We live in perhaps the most socially and politically polarized time ever in human history. It seems like everybody feels as if they need to have an opinion on every given world event, and that if you're not on someone else's team, then you are the enemy and you must be destroyed. That might sound extreme, but take a look at literally any issue people are talking about on social media. There is almost no nuance, no room for discussion, and no willingness to openly debate differing ideas or positions. So it got me wondering, why is it that people, generally speaking, don't change their minds? And I think the answer is deceptively simple. Because, contrary to the secular liberal worldview of human beings as fundamentally rational and reasonable people, that is not what we are. Most people and the choices we make are not driven by reason or rationality. We are driven by stories and emotion. Take, for example, my country, South Africa. The reason that the African National Congress has been able to hold on to power for more than 3 decades at this point, despite being one of the most inept and corrupt organizations on the planet, isn't because they are geniuses. These people are not world leading experts in anything other than corruption. The reason that the ANC has remained in power for as long as it has is that they know how to weave and manipulate stories. Every time they run into trouble and are found to have done something terribly wrong and betrayed the country in some way, all they have to do is mention apartheid and the struggle for black liberation, and thousands, if not millions, of people will get back on board with them, despite the fact that much of what ANC members say about the history of apartheid are complete fabrications. Literally, they lie about the reality of apartheid all the time, every day. But to most people, the sad fact is that the truth does not matter. Because, as I said at the start, people are driven by story and emotion, not reality. Take, for example, I don't know if I'll be able to show it on camera clear, clearly enough, but if you can see this pendant that I'm wearing right here, this pendant is a symbolic representation of the hammer, the magical hammer, in fact, of the Norse god Thor. Now, I don't wear this pendant because I believe that the god Thor is actually up in the clouds using his magical hammer to create thunder and lightning. I wear this pendant because I love ancient mythology and I appreciate the symbolic meaning of Thor and his hammer as representations of strength, courage, and honor. So even I myself am not blind to the fact that stories and narratives have a great deal of impact on who I am as a person. If you don't believe me, consider how corporate news media is presented. When you watch the news on TV, what do you notice? You notice that they don't do what I'm doing now. They don't just sit in a normal room in front of a simple camera and talk. No, when the news comes on, there is dramatic music. And when the cameras go to them, go to these news anchors, they aren't just sitting at a normal table. They're sitting at a very fancy desk in a high tech looking studio wearing very expensive looking clothing. And even in the way that they speak, news presenters do not speak like regular people. They speak with a very measured and controlled cadence. That is because journalism, particularly today, but always to some extent, hasn't been about reporting fact. It's been about sharing and spinning narratives, because that is what we are. Human beings are narrative creatures. So if you are trying to change someone's mind, it doesn't matter how many facts you give them, how many statistics you can provide. If you can't sway their emotions, you are never going to make any difference to how they think and especially not how they feel. That is why human beings don't change their minds.